was a rule for Mongolia, and that rule propagated everywhere.
That's wild. It's like, this is what got us into this shit.
Yeah. So, which is one of the pieces of evidence where they're like, it's like there was a
Right.
lot of cracking down on the whole rape thing, but there's a caveat of like, well, why is there so many dead bodies where like the
Right.
atmosphere changed?
Yeah. Why is the carbon footprint different of the human race during the time that he was alive? But it's interesting because we also have to look at things in a perspective of living in the year 1200, or what was it, 1240s? Like, what?
Yeah.
When was he around?
I should know this. 12 or 13.
So
Yeah.
Jamie will find out. You have to, it's very hard to do, and it's not apologizing for these people. I'm not like saying that we should apply the way they looked at the world today. I think the way we look at the world is infinitely better, and we're moving in an infinitely better direction. And I think we have like large extremes that go in one direction and things push back in the other direction too far. There's an overcorrection, and then they balance out. I think we're generally moving in a direction of a more kind, more peaceful society. I think we're better. That said, 1,200 years ago, the world was hell. There was no newspapers. No one could read. Okay, where did you get your information from? You got your information from priests and from generals, and you shared information if you're farmers. The world was horrific. People fought with bows and arrows and cannons and catapults. And murder was commonplace. If you were 12 years old, you've probably seen a few people killed already. It was a different time to be alive. Diseases would kill everybody. There was no medicine. You broke your leg, you're dead. You get infected, you're dead. It was just, the world was a very, very different place. It was so dangerous and so fucking terrifying, and people relied on their base instincts and the worst aspects of humanity. They relied on that to survive because that was all around you. You had to become a monster if you wanted to live in monstrous times.
And that's why the rule of law had to be enforced in a brutal way.
Yeah.
One of the really powerful things he did is protect merchants, people that traded.
Yeah.
If you fuck with people that trade, that on the Silk Road, you're going to get slaughtered.
Yeah.
It's not like there's going to be a process. You get slaughtered.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the reasons I hesitate to say this because people are projecting to the future, but he took Kiev and slaughtered people because they broke the rule of, I forget the term for this, but the people that are sent out to communicate before the battle starts.
Ambassadors.
And the ambassadors. The rule is you don't fuck
Kill
with them.
Yeah.
And the Kievan residents killed them. And that's where you break the rule.
Yeah.
It's like, that's it. Then it's total war.
Mm-hmm.
And you had to do that. I mean, you don't have to do that, but that is one of the...
Well, if you're living back then, you have to do that.
And then you look at, like, but the result is complete slaughter. And by the way, thank you for rescuing me. I said a bunch of stupid shit, and you're adding more complexity and depth and nuance. And
Well, we just got started.
I love you,
don't know how
brother.
I love you too. I love you to death, man. You know how you when you begin a podcast, I don't know if you're like this, but for me, I got to get cooking. Sometimes that's one of the reasons why I like to talk to people. I like to talk sometimes for like 15 minutes even before we go on air. The danger is they're going to say something and I'm going to ask them to repeat it. I don't want that. So sometimes I'll come in hot and I'm like, let's just go right now. But your brain, you don't know we're going to talk about the Mongols and rape.
Yeah.
Right? And so then all of a sudden we're in this very intense conversation about the responsibility you have as a podcaster, which is a crazy thing to say. But you have probably more responsibility than anybody. And then this subject comes up in the middle of that.
Yeah.
And then
And before that, we
Yeah.
were joking about ejaculating in space.
Yeah, that's how we started it.
Yeah.
Bro, I mean, we used to have open up some of the most serious conversations this podcast ever had with a Fleshlight ad.
Yeah.
The early days of the podcast, that was the only sponsor we had. So it's like, this is, again, you reacting to criticism. right? So it's
Yeah.
like the fear of the criticism of you yourself, knowing you could have done a better job of explaining that had you prepared something, which is really the difference between off the cuff conversations and like your actual well considered thoughts on things expressed in the best way possible, which is what you would do if you're going to write it out, if you're going to write a Substack piece about it.
Well, one of the things I'm trying to do for myself personally, I think a lot of people have to do this, when young kids have to do this, is figure out how to create like a psychological framework where I'm not affected by the internet. It sounds like ridiculous to say, but you say don't read the comments, but they come at you like they'll find their way, and I need to.
It doesn't work. Nobody's good at it. Even Elon's not good at it. Just post and ghost. Post and ghost.
But
post things that you think are interesting and just get out of there. Don't read stuff about yourself. Someone said this, I think it was Anthony